I'm Owen Bigland. This is the Inside Edge video blog. Okay, had a client send me an article, link to an article in CTV News online here. And this is, you guys know I've been talking about pre-sale and the risks that you take with pre-sale. And here's another example. I talked last month about a project in Richmond that had been scrapped. People had their deposits returned, but they had put those deposits down 3 years ago. And, now had to wade into the current market, which was substantially higher. So he sent me a link to this, and here's the headline. This is in CTV News. This was a couple of weeks ago. Concrete townhomes will actually be wood frame. And this is a story. Buyers of a pre-sale units in an exclusive townhouse development on Vancouver's west side are frustrated by the developer's seemingly last-minute decision to change building materials. They bought these townhomes as concrete. They were sold as concrete units, IFC, insulated concrete form. And now the developer last minute has changed it over to wood frame, which is a very big material difference in quality, going from concrete to wood frame. I'm not going to name the development here. It's a 17-unit development currently under construction on Vancouver's west side. Website describes the units as spacious 2- and 3-bedroom townhomes with prices starting in the mid $1.4 million range. Until recently, the units were being marketed as concrete. Last month, the buyers were surprised to receive an email from the developer explaining that because of what it describes as unforeseen circumstances, the project would be proceeding with conventional wood framing instead of the insulated concrete that had been promised and what was on the marketing materials and everything else. So CTV tracked down a couple of buyers, directed this to CTV. The buyers wanted to be anonymous right now for fear of reprisal from the developer. Apparently one of them had their realtor, of course, call the developer after they received this email and asked, are my buyers going to be getting a reduction in the purchase price because going from concrete to wood frame, maybe someone can back me up on this. I think the difference has got to be at least 15%, maybe closer to 20%. Concrete construction is quite a bit more expensive than wood frame. And of course, the answer from the developer was no, they would not. So CTV dug a little deeper on this. Easy to do. They went down to Vancouver City Hall to have a look at what the permits were submitted on this project. And lo and behold, the project was permitted based on a wood frame townhome, not concrete. So, geez, this is pretty crazy. Now, according to the developer, CTV contacted them. The developer, basically had said that continuing with concrete would have resulted in unacceptable delays that we didn't believe the buyers would accept. They weren't even consulted, the buyers, on this. We just changed it. When asked about, you had pulled the permits, the city approved this project based on wood frame, and you marketed them as concrete, the developer said, we were going to readjust that and change it later to concrete. What a mess. Now, I would say I'm not a lawyer, and I have not looked at this contract of purchase and sale, so you guys know I've talked about pre-sale many times. You are not using a standard contract of purchase and sale like you do when you're buying tangible product. You are using a developer's contract of purchase and sale. And this is heavily, heavily weighted. Everything is weighted in the developer's favor, not the buyer. So they could have all kinds of clauses in this contract of purchase and sale. They always have things in there for material changes can happen and you have to accept it. Now, I've seen things where appliance packages have been changed out from something less expensive. I've seen siding where it was going to be hardy plank siding has been replaced with stucco. There's all kinds of finishing changes that a developer can make from the time you buy it on the brochure till the time you actually get the keys. And they are allowable in the contract. Now, I would tell these buyers you should definitely, all of them should go and get a lawyer for sure. Have a look at the contract of purchase and sale, how it's written, because this is a very major change here going from, this isn't swapping out a Sub-Zero fridge for a Samsung fridge. This is pretty major difference here going from concrete and what people bought, and a lot of buyers were saying that's why they bought it, because it was concrete, to wood frame. So get a lawyer, but tough to say what kind of recourse they're going to have on this. It'll depend on how that contract was written, that contract of purchase and sale, which is all is done by the developer. It's custom made. But I would think at the very least in this situation, you know, something like this, those buyers could probably get out of this contract and the developer would have to refund their deposit funds. But you have to ask yourself, it's like that one in Richmond that I talked about a month ago. Is that really a good solution? Is that, because I believe these were sold about 2.5 years ago. So sure, we give you all your deposit funds back, but the market is up 15% since we bought this in 2020. Or laid down my deposit and signed the contract. So that might not be a very good outcome for the buyers. So pretty crazy. Now again, you would never see this happen with a major developer. This is really amateur stuff here. Applying for a wood frame construction permit, marketing it as concrete, and then at the last minute telling you that, oh, we've done you a big favor here. We're going to go from concrete back to wood frame because we knew you wouldn't want to have any more construction delays. Thank us later. Everything is going to be on time now. But by the way, we're moving it from concrete to wood frame. This is total amateur hour here. You would never see a major developer involved in this. This is the thing, especially with pre-sale with these small developments. There are hundreds of these guys out there. This guy, I have no clue who this developer is. I've never heard of them. It might be their first project. It's a small 17-unit project. You know, they're all over the road with these, on who these people are, the developers, their experience level, how they're marketing these homes, the permitting they're getting, and what they're applying for. It's crazy. So we'll have to see, get a lawyer here for sure to these buyers, and we'll see what kind of recourse they've got. Final note, as you guys know, pre-sale can make a lot of sense in some special circumstances. I've got 2 closing here this fall that I represented the buyers on several years back. I've got 2 more in 2024. I'm more than happy on the right project. If someone wants representation, give me a call. I'm happy to represent you in a pre-sale if it makes sense. And you want that, you want to have representation, read through the disclosure statements. I always try and get my buyers some extras thrown in the contract if we can. I'm under the belief you shoot for the moon and hopefully something might stick. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Things like decorating allowances or finishing upgrades or appliance upgrades. Try it, see if sometimes it works, other times it doesn't. Whatever you do, though, you do not want to go into the display center, and go in there and buy a pre-sale unrepresented. Remember, you don't pay me for anything. The developer will pay me to represent you. So be careful with that. But, you know, people often point, you know, the advantages of pre-sale. The one advantage is you lock in today's price and you don't get the keys for 3 or 4 or 5 years. And hey, oh, and the market goes up, you put 20% down, now you get the keys and the condo's worth 100K more. Yes, that can happen sometimes. I've had lots of those. But for every one of those, there's a lot of times where it doesn't work that way. The market doesn't go in your favor over the next 3 or 4 years, and it's worth less than what you paid for it 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years earlier. But the other thing is, what I often say is tangible product. You don't have the GST, it's tangible, you can negotiate it. Probably generally get it at a better price per square foot. And, you know, you would still participate in any of that market increase over the next 3 or 4 years. If you bought a condo today, a tangible unit, moved into it, you're still getting that appreciation if the market moves up. So you got to be careful. I've done so many blogs on pre-sale over the years. So final thing here. The same day, we've got a media liaison in our office, as I've told you guys. I'm in a big brokerage. 5 days a week I get a newsletter, and with all the items regarding real estate that are in the news. So I get an email, and this is where I get a lot of material from my blog here. Financial Post, the same day that this guy sends me this thing on the Townhouse complex going to wood frame. Home builder costs in Canada soar 51%. So it went on to say surging construction costs in Canada are putting new pressure on home prices, worsening the severe affordability crunch. The cost of building a home in Canada, or any structure for that matter, has never been higher, economists said in a report, citing dramatic jumps in concrete, structural steel prices since the start of the pandemic, along with soaring lumber prices since 2021. So yeah, the cost to build has skyrocketed. Now, I don't know, does it have anything to do with going from concrete to wood frame on this townhouse complex? According to the developer, it doesn't. No, Doesn't have anything to do with that. It had to do with some unexpected delays we didn't think would be in your best interest. So that we're doing you a favor, essentially, is what they were saying. So listen, I'm going to do more on this. I've talked about this before. I do not think that in the current tangible market, especially maybe some older condos, 15, 20, 25 years old, that have had a full reno done to them, I think they can be tremendous value if it's the right strata, because I don't think a lot of these costs in the last 2 or 3 years, the price to do a reno has skyrocketed. I did a reno, I think I told you guys, about 5 years ago on my current principal residence here. It was an extensive reno, well into the several $100,000. 6-month full reno, had to get all the permits and everything else. My renovator, I talk to him from time to time, he tells me that the cost for me to do this reno today, what I did 5 years ago, would be about another $85,000. And he's not sure if he could get it done in 6 months. It would probably be more like about 8 or 9 months. And still not even sure with some of the supply chain and materials, might have to swap some stuff out last minute or whatever. So something to think about. I'm going to do more blogs on this later this fall. I do think that there's some good value in renovated condos, because I don't think the current market and the cost to renovate, getting the permits from City Hall, the material costs, the labor costs have all skyrocketed. And it's not fully padded into the price. Look no further than I've been blogging about what the prices of these pre-sale condos coming online are looking at. That's more reflective of the current construction costs and doing business and building in Vancouver. That has not yet trickled all the way down to some older condos or some condos that have had renos that I think are probably undervalued. I'm Owen Bigland. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next week.